Wait, what? We've reset again? What plotline is this?
None.
None.
Yeah, you see, our writers decided that plot lines are for other people and network television shows.
Uh-huh. And why not?
Well, it's mostly because our writer likes to write himself into the jokes as a prank on our producer, but it's probably because this is Nerdcast.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. Roger. Ready to move out.
No plotline. It's so freeing.
It is. And that's why I'm glad I can now openly say that I have copywritten your catchphrase.
Wait, what? What does that even mean?
It means every time you say the word nope, you owe me $1.
How does that work?
Like this. Now, let's do good, bad, random.
Oh, we're doing news and views. Kids' movies have been on a roll lately. Frozen had the highest animation quality and best talent in the business, so it's no wonder that thing exploded like a burrito in a microwave. But now we have the Lego Movie. Hot damn do we have the Lego Movie. Does it have the greatest singers or animators of our generation? No, but it doesn't need it. It has heart, a little stubby block heart. Lego Movie follows the story of Emmett, an unimaginative dude living in the equivalent of a Lego 9-to-5 job, until it becomes clear that he's actually a prophesied Lego messiah known as the Special. He's whisked away to save the Lego world by a group of Lego people called the Master Builders, and has to learn to be creative so the Lego world doesn't become permanently frozen in crazy glue. Lego.
Lego, Lego, Lego.
This is purely a kid's movie, but in the best possible way. It's all about fun and silliness, like when Emmett uses his own head as a wheel. This movie is about a toy, after all.
Lego, 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 Lego.
Me, having a child's brain, thought the gags were solid gold, and the movie's filled wall to wall with them. I personally love the moments when the movie made a reference to the franchises Legos collected over the years. For a giant kid like me, I enjoyed loudly whispering to my neighbors, "Look, a Ninja Turtle! Look, Star Wars!" I used to have a pirate ship just like that!
Lego, Lego. It's just a sound now. Am I still saying it? Lego.
But the jokes and gags are just the bait to fill seats. Turns out Lego Movie is secretly much deeper and darker than expected. I didn't expect to get emotionally involved, for example, in a movie about plastic. But this movie takes some risks in order to offer some real messages. For example, the whole movie takes place in some kind of dystopian society that forbids creativity and restricts Lego construction to what's in instruction booklets. Creativity itself is on the line. And if you've ever worked a 9-to-5 job,
Yep.
me too,
Lego.
then this message could really resonate with you. Not to mention, the entire Lego plot is just a cover-up for an overarching twist plot revealed in the third act, which is sure to resonate with even more people, even if you've somehow never played with Legos before. Somehow. Also, and this is important, Will Ferrell is in his element in this movie. He plays the evil president business, and he knocks it out of the park. His zany comedy style fits in kids' movies in a way that I don't think anyone's realized before. Then, when he has to play it serious, well, it works. He can make the switch. Could this movie have been an extended Lego commercial? Absolutely. And it kind of is, but not in the way you'd think. This movie is wisely played to the idea that Lego has always been about inspiring ingenuity and imagination. They didn't take the soul out of it by making it a movie about something silly, like how much it hurts when you step on them.
Stupid, stupid plastic brick toy!
Lego Movie makes me want to break out the old bin and throw something together. It's not about Legos, it's about playing with Legos. And that's emphasized by all the classic and discontinued playsets making nostalgia cameos. The movie doesn't care if you buy its product. Just think about how weird that is today. On top of that, it's a spectacle to watch, filled with fight sequences, really cool fast building sequences, and massive battle scenes, all done with actual Legos in stop motion. It feels like any kid with a camera and enough time could have made the same movie. And that's sort of the whole point. Never stop playing, nerds. Never stop building. Never grow up.
Hey guys! This week's big news is mostly about phones due to the Mobile World Congress event that happened the other week. The headliner was most definitely Samsung, as they unveiled their Galaxy S5 and several smartwatches in an attempt to become more like Apple.
The resurrection of Steve Jobs is nigh.
The S5 will hit stores on April 11th in 150 countries. It has an estimated battery life of 11 hours of cat videos and an ultra power saving mode, so when you really start to run out of juice, your phone won't die on you. The S5 also has an improved camera, a fingerprint scanner, sound familiar, dust and water resistant coating, Super AMOLED 1080p screen.
Does it even matter on a 5.1-inch screen?
And it also now has integrated fitness software. This last bit is a tie-in to the Galaxy Gear 2 and Gear 2 Neo, as well as the Gear Fit. There were some improvements for the smartwatches, with the Neo version being the leaner model of the Gear 2. It's missing a few small things like a camera. They both now run Samsung's OS Tizen, but are still compatible with Android.
Did you know Motorola is working on a smartwatch too? Why is this even a thing?
The Gear Fit is a fitness watch and is more curved, less blocky. Look for these to be released alongside the Galaxy S5.
Seriously, 5S, S5, it's all the same. Which is which?
Mozilla is trying to make a $25 smartphone. However, it will not support LTE networks, and that's really a shame. It seems to be the lowest of the low and the cheapest of the cheap.
So Mozilla's jumping on the smartphone bandwagon now?
So is Fujitsu. They're trying to teach your grandma how to use a smartphone. And no, that's not a joke. They're working on a senior-friendly version of these newfangled gadgets. Well, another one I should really say. They ran a trial version of it in France, and it seems to be doing just well enough for them to make another one. So be prepared for that phone call asking you how to tweet a text to your YouTubes.
Again, why is this a thing?
Here's an idea. An Android phone with a screen on both the front and the back. The Yoda Phone 2 has an e-ink display on the back of its casing. It can be used for the same basics that the front screen can do, like texting, Facebooking, emailing stuff, but with much less battery consumption. Supposedly, if you use only the back screen, this phone can have a 50-hour battery life. Not all third-party apps will work with the second display initially, but the SDK has been made available to devs, so there is hope. However, we won't see it here in the States for quite some time.
50-hour battery life. That should be a thing.
AT&T has added international text and picture messaging, but this does not include data. This means if you use an app like Line to send messages and pictures, you will incur those data charges. In other mobile company news, T-Mobile gained 4.4 million new customers with their pricing and phone payment options, but at the same time, they didn't say how many customers they lost due to whatever reasons. They also lost $20 million, probably from paying all those canceled cell phone plans. I would like to end the first part of the news with a small PSA to all Android owners. Be careful of spin-offs of popular games on Google Play, like the Flappy Bird remakes. Malware on the store has quadrupled since 2011. Quadrupled. This goes even more so if you're downloading the APK from the web.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been trolled. Don't believe me? Well, what can we expect from a Hollywood reboot? Classic characters, old catchphrases, maybe some decent explosions, right? And RoboCop! Oh man, was this going to be an easy cash grab. Sci-fi, high-action cop movie, super moral, near-indestructible, awesome fighting robot, and a massive established fan base? Please. Linda, give me 2 recognizable stars and the budget for 3D. Then call the private jets. Tell them the moon!
If you call me Linda one more time!
I accuse this remake of trolling because I was not ready for everything it had to say, and I don't think audiences will be ready either. This movie tells the story of Detective Alex Murphy, victim of a car bombing by a criminal cartel in an uncomfortably believable near-future America. Using advanced medicine, Detective Murphy is revived with about 95%-ish of his physical body replaced by machinery. Ideally, this means he can return to being an officer, but the reality is that Detective Murphy only has partial control over his body, because the corporation that resurrected him had ulterior motives. The actual plan is to create a spokesperson in order to sway public opinion, allowing for the corporation to sell their robotic security forces to the United States public and fill their swimming pools with money Scrooge McDuck style. This is not merely a fun, justice wins, yay America action romp. It is exactly the opposite. Much of the film deals with Detective Murphy learning to deal with his new prosthetic body and drastically altered lifestyle. This includes his relationship with his wife and son. The most gripping scenes involve echoes of modern soldiers coming home from Afghanistan and Iraq, learning to cope with PTSD, amputeeism, and over-medication.
Mitch! We were having fun here!
Sorry, I know. Darkness goes under the rug, America has no problems. Hey, there's fun stuff too. Finally, there's a movie with a shootout scene in total darkness, shot so that audiences can tell what's going on.
Hooray, night vision!
The other action scenes are pretty sweet too. And Swedish actor Joel Kinnaman is able to display a credible RoboCop with the proper range of emotions. And in the scenes when he's supposed to be emotionally dead, he does so without appearing to be bored or Keanu Reeves.
A victory for us all.
But the real star is Gary Oldman. He takes the role of the well-meaning but corruptible doctor and gives the entire corporate superpower angle credibility by showing that some of these supposed evils might be the results of the best intentions colliding with human nature. Then, all of this is ruined by Michael Keaton. He plays the campiest corporate bigwig bad guy since an Occupy Wall Street documentary. The movie has some pretty awful soundtrack choices too. My personal favorite is the sex scene that starts to the sounds of crickets chirping. Safe to say, I never felt like the music was up to par with the message or the action. Now, RoboCop's, it's a pretty genius bait-and-switch operation. My guess is that it's designed to blindside the usual action movie buff audience with some real horrors of war type stuff. And the classic RoboCop character had both the fan base and the story to do it. The modern echoes make it fully appropriate as a reboot and a social commentary. And if other movies could adapt this same strategy of using familiar messages from classic movies to tell stories, then this whole remake trend could be 1,000 times smarter.
Wow, Mitch. First the movie about toys was good, and now the 80s remake movie was also good. Are you regaining your faith in humanity?
What? Oh, I hope not. I need that cynicism to do reviews. Final word, be prepared if you're going to see RoboCop. And also, Samuel L. Jackson playing Rush Limbaugh is amazing.
In some of the most unfortunate news I have for you, your Netflix subscription is going to go up. Probably. See, Netflix and Comcast made a deal so that Netflix users get more bandwidth than other internet activities when they have Comcast as their internet provider. That means more HD quality streaming and less buffering. Sounds good, right? It's actually a problem. Netflix had to pay Comcast in this deal, and now Verizon and AT&T are trying to go for similar contracts. If Netflix is paying for everyone, yeah, your sub is going to go up so they can have the money to pay for it in the first place.
What will I do when I can't afford Netflix? Jess, how long can I go without eating?
Don't be so dramatic. The Veronica Mars movie will be in theaters at the same time it's available for video on demand. While you will be able to stream it online, it will be a rent or buy this video kind of thing. You just don't have to trudge into a theater.
I don't have to deal with people. Nice!
Yep. Especially because Crackle's free videos are now available on Vita via a brand new app. However, you will have to pay for Lego Movie 2 release because it will be in theaters on May 26th, 2017. Spaceship!
Spaceship?
Spaceship! Sony is also making a movie I want to see focusing on the Nintendo vs. Sega saga. The film will be based off of J. Blake Harris's upcoming book, Console Wars, Sega, Nintendo, and the Battle That Defined a Generation.
Huh. I wonder how much his book sales just went up.
Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg will be directing and writing the movie, so I fully expect it to be entertaining. To celebrate this movie,
But not really.
Nintendo is giving away free copies of X and Y. For the month of March, Nintendo is giving away free downloadable copies of X and Y to people who purchase a 2DS or 3DS, including the XL version. They have to register it on the Nintendo website along with one of 6 3DS games, but the choices are actually pretty decent.
Jess, I'm getting sleepy. Can we wrap this up?
Shut up, Mitch. Alright, speed news. The Candy Crush Saga devs no longer want to own the word candy and have dropped their trademark. There's a new 500GB PS3 bundle that comes with LEGO The Hobbit. The Oculus Rift had to temporarily stop production due to the fact that certain components are no longer being made. Sony sold over 300,000 PS4s during the Japanese launch.
Wait, seriously? That's awesome.
Ignoring Mitch, even though he's right, and continuing on. MasterCard is testing a new security measure that allows you to make purchases based on your GPS location. Titanfall will require between 20 to 40 gigabytes of install space on your Xbox One, 50 for PC. But good news, Twitch will be available on your Xbox One at the same time, so you can watch everyone else who already has it installed while you're waiting for yours to finish. South Park: The Stick of Truth will have 7 scenes censored on the console versions in Europe, and I cannot tell you why on this show. It's just too raunchy. Valve has given devs the opportunity to put their own games on sale more easily. My wallet is already crying out in pain.
Netflix or games? Jess, how do homeless people get electricity?
Sony is closing 20 retail stores, but don't worry, there will still be 11 open across 4 different states. Finally, Persona 5 is coming to the West for the PS3 in 2015. Never fear! If you understand Japanese enough, it will be available in Japan by the end of this year, and you can get it early. But we're also getting 3 other Persona games, so I can't really complain. Including Vita and 3DS exclusives, by the way. And that, guys, is probably the most awesome news of the week.
Good to be back in the old studio. It's like coming back to an old friend.
Who's dead?
What?
Well, you see, the writer told me to tell you that because, well, he thought it would be a bit of a shock.
That's terrible. You couldn't think of anything else to say to shock me other than dead person?
Well, yes, actually.
What's that?
Don't cross the streams. Because I get to start off first this week, I'm incredibly excited about the news I'm about to tell you. Now, for those of you who have either missed out on or who have just been desperately missing the Sergeant Frog series from Tokyo Pop, also known as Kiroro Gunso, then I have some amazing news.
Just another day in this frog's army.
That's right, Peekaponians everywhere, it's coming back around. Everyone's favorite Gundam-building, house-cleaning invader is making a triumphant return. For now, Animax will be running 5-minute shorts of the Froggy Menace starting March 22nd at 7 p.m. and will continue with this for weekly installments.
Aliens.
I know, right? In other Coronian news, if you've been trying to keep up with the manga, issue 35 will be hitting the shelves on March 26th.
Sounds like you've got your own Froggy Stephanie Brown there, Lucas.
Well, let me ask you this. Does Stephanie Brown have her own show? Better yet, does she have a whole 5-month exhibition? Kawaguchi City will be hosting the great Kiroro exhibition Skip City Invasion from April 12th through August 31st.
Superman Lois Lane #1. The problem with writing a large one-shot story, especially one steeped in exploring a character's background, is that sometimes you have to drag things out to reach the page count. This is a prime example of that flaw. It's weird. I feel like doing this as like a 3-issue miniseries might have actually made the story pace itself a bit better. But mostly it just slumped through sappy sentimentality when it wasn't just being vague. But my biggest concern is that, of course, it had to be some crazy alien splicing shenanigans that was way too convoluted for its own good. It had to be as superhero as possible. Lois's sister couldn't just have gotten addicted to drugs normally.
Because apparently Superman's supporting cast is held to higher moral standards than the Green Arrows.
Yeah, 5 out of 10.
A rom-com straight out of left field, Hitsugi no Chaika follows the story of Toru Akura, a recently retired soldier who now meanders through life after the end of a recent war. Along his way, he stumbles for meaning and existence and comes across a young sorceress named Chaika Trabant. Well, for the sake of argument, she's your typical 14-year-old sorceress carrying around a giant coffin.
A what?
Well, an alternative title for the series was, in English, Chaika, the Coffin Princess. It's my kind of girl.
That's, so wrong on several levels.
Anyways, he meets her and travels with her in hopes of finding that sense of meaning that he had been so desperately searching for. Along with his adopted sister, Akari, they set out in search of filling that meaning and meow the meow meow across the land.
Like, Pocket Cat?
Sure. And if you like this series or you're looking for a good warm-up or even an epilogue for it, might I suggest Tokyo Pop's Maho Romantic?
All-Star Western number 28. This has been one of my favorite DC series lately, especially with Jonah Hex in the present. This issue's art is a bit off, especially with the jarring transition around the middle, but the biggest flaw with this issue is the pacing. It feels like Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti just went, well, we're done with the present day story, let's just end it instantly. The last time-displaced story doesn't get the right flow to it because it has to be cut short for the even more abrupt conclusion. So how does Hex get back to his own time? Does he get answers from the House of Mystery like he was searching for? Does he need to seek out somebody with the technology?
Should Justin and Jimmy actually put in the work to flesh out this much-needed exposition?
No. Booster Gold literally shows up, apologizes, and just sends him on his way. Seriously, it's just anticlimactic. And I'm not sure how I feel about his face being fixed. That's a freaky change. I do know how I feel about his new outfit. It's ugly and I hate it. 7 out of 10.
So everyone tuning in on your beanbag chairs, on your couches, at your desk chairs, across the galaxy, here's what I have to tell you. If you've been following the series of Space Dandy,
That dandy guy in space,
then I have a bit of troubling news for you. You see, after a pretty successful run, I might say, on Adult Swim, the season is coming to an end. Whether or not this is actually a season end or a series end is yet to be determined, but to be honest, as someone who's been following this show every week, I really don't see this going out of style anytime soon. If anything, we're probably going to see a lot more of it. Will it have a long run? I don't know. One can hope. But here's the one thing I just have to tell you in advance. All right, you've got about 1 week left to catch up on all your episodes before the final one comes out on Adult Swim. So marathon that thing. Invite your friends, invite your family, invite your cat, your dog, your pet goldfish. The cat never cares. Don't bother with that guy. Bottom line is, you've got to tune in and you've got to be ready for
That dandy guy in space.
Stay tuned.
Fantastic Four number 1. 16 issues after the last Fantastic Four number 1. Hickman made me love the Fantastic Four, and he was followed by Matt Fraction, who seemed promising, but gave us a reminder on why many people find the Fantastic Four dull.
Superhero Brady Bunch.
But here comes James Robinson to give Marvel's greatest family the kick in the ass it needs. We hope. Off the bat, the only problem is that the red costumes are an unnervingly abrupt change without explanation. It's almost overlookable because they're awesome, but it's troubling. Perhaps that's the intention. This story is called The Fall of the Fantastic Four, and it's exactly as unnerving as it should be, hitting all the right notes of emotion and intrigue. Leonard Kirk's art is smooth and stylish with a sheen that fits the dark undercurrent in an inexplicable way. Fantastic Four skeptics, give this one a look, because dark promising things are on the horizon. 9 out of 10.
All right, so all the Hayao Miyazaki fans, all the fans of Studio Ghibli, you've probably already guessed it by now. The Wind Rises came out on February 27th, and, well, there are some mixed reviews, to be honest, from an American's point of view. Now, on one hand, we're looking at Miyazaki's work. It's almost always, if not always, just fantastic. He knocks it out of the park every time with his crew. And to be honest, a couple of people are saying they're a little disappointed this time around. Now, granted, it's still that same quality of work, but the storytelling and just the way it's conveyed seems to be where things are falling apart for American audiences. Now, this is Miyazaki's first attempt, as far as we're aware, at making a historical piece. Now, for those of you who don't know, the story is set following this young man who wants to design airplanes. All right, he lives in Japan. He's going for the war effort. He's trying to do all that he can for his beloved country. Now, of course, if you don't have a very good background in Japanese history, at least in the last 100 years or so, there are going to be a couple gaps in your knowledge that you may just sit there watching the story like, what is going on here? Now, that's partially because we as an American audience, we don't have that knowledge just on hand already. It feels like it's inferred that we should already walk into it with this background knowledge. Now, another thing is if you have been a fan of Akira Kurosawa's work, or if you've seen stuff like Millennium Actress, then you're going to be used to the kind of cuts and editing techniques they use in the film, and even a little bit about the background of Japanese history. Now, overall, a lot of people are saying this is still really, really great, because of course it's Studio Ghibli. But ultimately, don't go on this review alone. I highly suggest going out and seeing it yourself like I will.
Cataclysm, The Ultimate's Last Stand, number 5. For such an epic event, the conclusion's a bit not quite up to par. We spent this whole miniseries with an amazing sense of hopelessness, but the conclusion trends into some more generic territory. The fight between Kitty Pryde and Galactus gives things a sudden sense of hope. Between her and Thor actually being able to injure Galactus, contrary to the entire rest of the miniseries, something just feels off. And it's not just Mark Bagley's very lazy-looking artwork. I like the way things ended up by the end, and the way victory came, it just all got twisted up in tone towards the end. And for some reason, it looks like Kitty Miles as a couple is getting pushed huge out of nowhere. 6.5 out of 10. Exo Man of War number 22. Out of all the new Valiant titles, this one was my beginning and probably still my favorite. Partly because it's so awesome, but also because of the interesting morality of the protagonist, Eric. This issue is a pivotal one because it marks a point where Eric has truly been changed. This arc has made him realize for the first time that he is not always going to win by charging in head first, and he begins to lighten his warrior ways. This is a huge step forward. But there's an underlying darkness, not from the various governments possibly getting access to some of the alien weapons, but from the compromise he's forced to make. All he did was in the name of making a free people out of his Visigoths, and this issue shows that while his people believe it to be so, it's not entirely true. He's given them freedom of themselves in exchange for his own. He's no longer free to choose his own way for the time being, and it hurts him, but it's for the good of his people.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown on top of his fancy space armor.
This pain just about makes up for the relative lack of action in this issue, though not entirely for how short it feels. 9 out of 10.
I hate you so much right now.
Incorrect. You love me for my charms and good looks.
Nope. I hate you for your copyright claims.
Quarters? Really?
What? It's how they did it in the 80s.
You know, they seem to be bringing a lot back from the 80s. It's so retro.
Nope. It's just a remake. That's all I got. Let's do good, bad, random. Words.
Good. Fandom. Sometimes you just want to share what you love.
Bad. Quality. Producers usually bet on the film's original fan base to make money on the remake. Really big names like Star Trek don't even need to be that good, because the producers are betting that they can make all that money back when the fans go to see it on sheer curiosity.
Random. Nostalgia. If you fell in love with the classic, you're not going to like the remake. That's not bad, it's just human nature. You can't love something that looks eerily like something you already love. That's like me pretending my mom isn't a robot copy of herself.
Good. Progeny. You know, the remakes allow you to share what you love with the next generation, and then the two get to argue over which version is better. I'm looking at you, Gen 1ers.
Bad. Nothing is sacred. Film is an industry, so money has to come first. Anything can be remade and ruined in the process, assuming the name will bring in enough cash. AKA Garfield.
Random. What do remakes mean for the future? How long until they remake Harry Potter? Or The Goonies? Or even Ace Ventura?
Good. Updated tech. Some classics were really brought down by the tech of the era. Unfortunately, now they have better CGI, which either makes them a memorable classic or a complete, hey, look at what we can do now. Godzilla, memorable. Let's do this.
Bad. Things no one asked for. I'm looking at you, Lone Ranger. Smurfs. Smurfs 2. Smurfs 3.
Just try to remember that remakes are nothing new. I mean, the Maltese Falcon and Bram Stoker's Dracula have been remade, 1, 2, 8, 17 times?
Who you gonna call?
Stop it. You're a terrible person.
Sorry.
I swear, I am well on my way to becoming a typical superhero with this torturous venture.
You don't wear tights. I hope.
No, not that kind of stereotype. Here, let me explain. Superheroes have been around since Superman, or about 1938. The first superhero comic was Action Comics #1, published here in America, making superheroes as American as delicious, delicious apple pie. The comic featured an alien who was sent to Earth, and by the power of our glorious American sun, was turned from mere man into Superman. And here we have our first societal interpretation of the superhero, the godlike figure. Look closely at this here. This is a man who came to us from the heavens, delivered as a child to a couple incapable of conceiving one of their own. He is invulnerable, stronger than anything, powered by the brightest light around, the sun. And once he's grown into manhood, he is a shining beacon of moral righteousness and justice. Superman is as close as can be to a modern-day Jesus Christ. Let's look at another great superhero, Captain America. While not exactly a Christ figure, he does embody the American dream version of a savior. Here's what I mean. Steve Rogers was a pipsqueak who wanted nothing more than to serve his country. He was given the chance with the Weapon Plus program, which changed him from a normal puny boy into a super soldier. The project was then killed. Literally, as the doctor who made the formula was assassinated, leaving him alone. Like Christ. See what I did there? Now, what makes him a hero, especially for that time in America, was how he captured the American dream ideal, and also punched lots of Nazis in the face. Dude didn't just punch Nazis in the face. He punched Hitler in the face. He punched a clone of Hitler in the face. He punched a clone of that clone of Hitler in the face who was pretending to be somebody else. You get the idea. But that was then, and this is now. Now, society has changed. Instead of fighting Nazis, we're fighting terrorists. This means that society's view of the superhero has changed as well. It's gotten darker, or at least more badass. But there's a layer to it beyond that. People don't just like characters like Batman and Iron Man more lately because they're darker and less goody-goody. Deep down, it roots back to the American ideals of capitalism. Superman was the everyman by day, but he grew less relatable over the years because his version of the everyman was rooted to older ideals. Today, nobody wants to grow up on a farm and be an everyday journalist. Batman was once less relatable as a wealthy socialite, but more and more, his popularity grew because how much people want to be him. You can never be Superman. His genetics are totally different. But if you work hard enough, you can be Bruce Wayne. Maybe not Batman. I mean, you could, but you'd probably be arrested. But he's the top of the capitalist food chain. Captain America seems this way, but like Superman, he's someone you could never be. His body was made to be different, better, and all by chance. Tony Stark is somebody who has a fortune. Yes, he inherited it, but like Bruce Wayne, he has to work to maintain it. His powers don't come from his body, they come from his mind. Weapons that he designed with his brain and built with his hands. And he also used a bunch of fancy tools, but the point is, Tony Stark has an enviable life to the people of today, where nobody wants to have to live through the rags to get to the riches. Nobody wants to crawl their way out of mediocrity. They want to hit it big. So the once worshipped godlike heroes of Superman and Captain America are somewhat phased out in favor of more grounded and realistic role models that people can actually strive to be in practice more than ideals. So to sum up, the superhero as an idea is entangled in American society for more reasons than just what we had time to cover here. Our view of the superhero has evolved from the God-on-earth idealism to the capitalism success story, which is a testament to how American they are. Because, think about it, would we really have a place for the superhero comic if they couldn't evolve with our society?
And so we conclude yet another successful episode.
Maybe for you. I lost a month's rent.
Well, there is a way you could make it all back.
Like what?
Like, you could be my slave, do all my chores, do everything I say, paint my nails, and from this moment onward you shall refer to me as the supreme ruler of the world. This kitty has no front legs.
Why is that making it cuter?
I don't know, but
Why
it's
is it
so
amputee?
cute.
Why do I like amputee kittens?
I think he was just born that way. Do you see that? Isn't that so adorable? Oh my God.
Words.
Was turned from mere man into Superman. And here we have our first societal.
Our producer is dying, so if you are in the General Laurel area and are very punctual on Friday afternoons, then would you like to consider being a producer for our show Nerdcast? Now, there are a few requirements. We require an interview, a drug test, urine test, blood test, stool test, and we will require a generous, if not, well, a slight meager 20 grand admission fee. Now, this doesn't mean you'll get the spot, but we'll consider you for it. Don't call us, we'll call you.